All right, class. So what I plan to do in this video is show you how to add some animation to your Godot project. So I'm going to create a brand new scene. I'm going to make the base scene a kinematic body so that we can sort of review some of the kinematic body features. I'm going to call it fish. And I'm going to give it a couple things. I'm going to give it a child node of a sprite. And I'm also going to give it a child node of an animation player, which we have not used. By the way, if you can't, I've already done some testing, so a lot of the nodes that I've used are down here in my recent. But if I add a node that you have not used, you may have to come up here and start typing in the name. So in this case, I'm looking for an animation player. And once you select that, that'll be added to our scene tree. And so that I can get rid of this little complaining triangle, I'm also going to add a collision shape. So again, if you don't have it on your list for whatever reason, go to collision, and then you can see all of your options. And I just want a simple collision shape. And over here, I do have to say what I want, but without a sprite, that's a little hard. So when I load my sprite, you're going to notice that my sprite is stacked a little bit differently. Like when we did Game Maker, I had you stack the sprites horizontally. And in this case, I accidentally exported them from Pisco vertically, but that's not really a problem. I'll come over here to the animation section, and I just need to specify how many frames. Now, when I zoom in, the real feature that, or the real issue over here that I really want you to pay attention to, because in my animation, all I'm going to be doing is changing the frame. So as you can see, frame 0 has the fin coming towards us. Frame 1 is kind of the fin in the neutral position, and frame 2 is the fin away from us. And so if the correct order of my animation, and I probably should have done this in Pisco, but it's too late now, is I want to go 1, then 0, then 1 again, and then 2. And that's the order I want to animate my frames in. So I actually had to write this down because I shot a previous video where I couldn't get it right. So using the animation player, I'm going to click here. I'm going to go down here to animation. I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to call it swimming. And I'll hit OK. And then you can see it says to add track. It also gives us an amount of time. Now, the animation that I'm going to create, I want to run for 0.6 of a second. So right here is where you can indicate how long you want this little gray bar to be, and that's how long your animation is going to be. I'm going to snap to 0.15 seconds, and that will allow me to do a frame every 0.15 seconds. So for a total of 4 frames. And the last thing I'm going to click on 2 more things. Number 1, I want my animation to autoplay. So as soon as the object or my fish is brought into the room, it's going to start the animation, and I want it to loop. So those are all options. So autoplay, loop, snap is something I adjusted, and the length of my animation. So to actually add things to your animation, you'll go to whatever it is you wish to animate, and for me that is the sprite. And I am going to click on this key, but first I'm going to create or change it so that it's the first frame that I want to play, which is the fish in the neutral position. And I'm going to click on the key, and it's going to add a frame. You can see it's got a little plus sign, and I'll say create. And so the very first frame will be fish frame 1. I'm going to right click, I'm going to insert key, and you can see it's snapping to 0.15 seconds. And I want to change this one to 0. So I want it to be the fin coming towards us. I'm going to right click again, insert key, and then I want it to go back to the neutral position. So I want it to be frame 1. Again, I had to write this down. If I was really smart, I would have put them in the order I wanted in Pisco, but I wasn't really smart, so I had to make it just a small adjustment. And the last frame, I want to have it be on frame 2. So when I play this, hopefully it looks like the fin goes to neutral position, comes towards us, neutral, away, and repeats. So let's take a look. And because I did write it down, I do have it all in the right order, and that looks pretty good. So let's save this scene. So I'm going to save scene as, call it fish, and I'm going to put a couple instances of the fish in my game. So with game selected, I'm going to click here on this little chain, and I'm going to put in one fish, and almost like Dr. Seuss, I'm going to select it, Control D, and drag it. So now that I have two fish. And so when I play, hopefully, I'll have both of my fish playing an animation, and you can see that I do. So that's working out really well. Now I got to give my fish a little code. So I'm going to come up here, add kinematic. It's going to extend kinematic body. Calling it fish GD is going to be fine. And just a little review, in order to move, we need a speed. So I'm going to set that to 50. We need a direction, and right now my fish is facing the left. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to have my fish start left, and then when he comes into collision and changes direction, I'm going to have him check the direction he's going in, because I don't want him to always face left, and there's an easy way to make that happen. Now, who remembers what function is best to use when you're using a collision or a physics body like a kinematic body? Hopefully you remember that the physics process is the one to best use whenever you are going to use a physics body, and kinematic body is a physics body. I am going to have to calculate velocity by timesing speed times direction. And I'm going to normalize that so that the length of the direction is always 1, even though my fish is not designed to move in diagonals. But if I want to copy and paste this code into another object that will go in diagonals, I'm going to be glad I put that there. It's not going to hurt anything to have it unnecessarily. Now I'm going to use a method that's going to allow me to detect collision. Does anyone remember what that is? So I'm going to use move and slide, and I need to give it 2 arguments for this to work. You can see there are far more arguments that you can include here, but it needs a velocity, and so that I can detect is on ceiling and is on floor, I'm going to define vector 2 up. Again, this won't matter really to my fish because he's only ever going to collide with a wall, but I'm going to go ahead and put that there anyways. So then he is going to, at some point, come into collision with a wall. So if is on wall, I need to say what I want to have happen. Well, the first thing I want is I want him to turn and go in the other direction. So direction X is going to be times equals -1, and that's going to turn him. And then I also want to flip him on his horizontal axis if he's moving right. So if direction X is greater than 1, so that means that he is moving in a positive, actually I lied, greater than 0, then he's moving towards the right. And if that's the case, I want to take his sprite and I want to set flip H to true. Now you'll notice I have to do that to the sprite. The sprite actually has a flip H property. So watch what happens to my fish when I enable that. You can see that it will flip him on the horizontal axis. The kinematic body does not in any place have a flip H. So that's why I had to say get node, sprite, and flip that. And so then I just need to say else, and the only other possibility is direction X is less than 0, then I'm going to make sure to get node sprite and set flip H to false. While I'm here, I might as well manipulate some of the collisions because I don't want my fish to react when they collide with each other. So I believe my fish is not a wall. My fish is a moving object, and I only want him to interact when he collides with walls. I do not want my fish to collide with each other and then change. Collision, of course, will not work if I don't have a collision shape. So I've got to add that one last thing. So I'm going to come up here, new circle shape. I'm going to use my move mode and put that right in the middle. And then I'm going to use my select mode to get that to be just about where I want it. Looks like I have to move that slightly to the left. And once you're satisfied, you might want to select the fish and say, do not make children selectable, just so that something doesn't get weird later. All right, back to our, I'll save this scene. Back to the game, and let's see if all of my code is going to work. So play, and hopefully when my fish collides or is on wall, he'll turn and flip his sprite, and you can see that that all worked out really great. So that is only one of the ways to add animation. There is another way to add an animation, and I might show you that in the future video. But one of the great things about AnimationPlayer is a single object can have more than one animation. So for example, when I click on my fish, if I wanted him to show an animation of some sort, which I probably will do in a future video, I can use the same animation player and just add a new animation to it and have that one play and then switch back to swimming if the fish re-enters the room. So there's how to add some animation using a strip of sprites like I have here. One last thing that I do want to show you before I go. My file system is getting pretty crowded with stuff. And if you ever find the need to organize things, then it is possible to right-click, create a new folder. And so I might call these PNGs. And I could start putting all of my, my graphics into that folder. So if grab these, put those in the folder. And here's a couple more. And Godot, I believe, will update. So if you move something that is depending on, for example, the fish is depending on this animated sprite, I think Godot will adjust and find it even though you've moved it from its original location. Let's find out. I may have just ruined this video. But even though I've relocated that sprite, Godot is able to find it. And so that's pretty nice. It will adapt and find those necessary files. So again, I'm just going to take a few more of my PNGs here and get all of my graphics in a single folder, and then you can see it really starts to clean up. I got a lot of extra graphics here. I won't lie. I got some things that I've used for testing, but now things are starting to become a little more manageable. And so whenever I need a graphic, I'll just go into here and I'll be able to find them. And I could even organize this to have just a special folder just for fish or background elements or something like that. But that's today's video, adding animation to a kinematic body. I hope you were able to learn something and enjoyed the video.